Welcome back to another episode of the Pain, Performance, and Pohada podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Nick Smith. I'm a licensed physical therapist and strength and conditioning coach for jiu-jitsu and other combat athletes. If you saw the title, and if you didn't start bumping the song right afterwards, you're missing out. Today we're going to talk about neck injuries in jiu-jitsu. Protect your neck is, obviously it's a Wu-Tang Clan lyric, but it's one of the most pivotal, one of the most important things we need to quite literally protect during jiu-jitsu. Our necks are put in some pretty precarious positions, whether it's front headlocks, various, submissions, neck cranks. There's a lot of things that we need to be able to do to manipulate somebody to get them into a position that we want. And as somebody who's on the receiving end of that a lot, especially if you're newer in the sport, making sure that your neck is both mobile and resilient is wildly important. And, the neck has a lot of vital structures in it, including vasculature and the primary part of our, nervous system in terms of activating our upper extremities comes from the neck. So protecting those structures, making sure things don't get stiff and kind of falling into the traps of common overuse injuries, common issues that I see with grapplers is wildly important. And I'm going to be doing a seminar, sometime next month with a local gym, Dream Art Fullerton, and we're going to be going over spine health, and that definitely includes the neck. When it comes to the neck itself and approaching it from either jiu-jitsu or combat athlete, we want to, like I said, you need to make sure you have full range of motion. So the range of motion things that your neck can do are flexion, which is look down, extension, look up, rotation, right and left, side bending, which is like ear to shoulder, and then you have a combination of them. And this is where most things are an issue. Generally speaking, this is what we call quadrant. So quadrant is where you go extension, rotation, side bend to the same side. So you would basically look over your shoulder like so. That in and itself causes a closing of the joint. If you have pain on the same side that you're going towards, that's usually indicative of some kind of joint issue, whether it's stiffness, could be several different things, but that's an important range of motion to be able to do. Look into your blind spot, look over, check out your friends, whatever. Another one that's a combination is flexion rotation side bend, which is down almost like you're looking towards your armpit. Now, this one gets to be a little bit more complex because forward bending or flexion associated pain is usually associated with some kind of disc pathology. Not to necessarily mean it's a herniation, but if you're getting referred pain or pain in the neck with bending forward, it could be muscular, but it could also be part of disc herniations. And since we're putting our necks in pretty bad positions a lot of times with jiu-jitsu, disc herniations are prevalent. Even if you weren't doing jiu-jitsu, disc herniations are prevalent. You're above the age of 30, you might have a disc herniation right now. You may not have pain, but you probably have one. So making sure that we have access to that full available range is super, super important. And then the other aspect of that is not just being a flexi boy or flexi gal, but actually being able to resist force through that very large range of motion. And I think this is where most people are underdeveloped. So if you think about it, think about the worst possible position you can be in. I would say being shoulder pressure, where your head is completely turned to the side, or being stacked on yourself. Stack pass, where you're just like up on your shoulders and neck, is probably two of the worst positions you can be in, where it could be there for a while. And training our necks to be able to be comfortable in those positions, sustain those positions, and then also be able to resist force getting out of it is critical. And so when I am implementing strength and conditioning or rehab for athletes, whether or not they have a neck injury, it's important to incorporate strengthening through a large range of motion. So accessing it, strengthen it. You have to do both. Making sure that each joint, right, if there is actual what we call segmental mobility, is incredibly important. So making sure that all 7 cervical vertebra have good and associated mobility. Making sure that you can almost try to isolate each one of those movements to the best of your ability, upper and lower cervical. And then training them isometrically at different ranges of motion, so be able to resist force in both directions in various ranges of motion, because that's what we're literally enduring during jiu-jitsu. And the reason why people get hurt with their neck, it's rarely because of one-off thing. Those things do happen. Maybe you shit whipped yourself and you got whiplash injury. But most of the time it's because our necks are not adequately prepared for the positions we put them in. So if we can't stack our own body weight on top of our neck, well, add another person on top of it. You definitely can. So learning to get comfortable in those positions, creating tension, opposing resistance in a large variety of range of motion is really important. And that's kind of like the foundation of things that I look for in terms of jiu-jitsu. And there are specific milestones and things that I really do look for to make sure your muscles are strong enough, range of motion is all there. But one of the tools that I really like to use is something I brought with me today. It's a great tool. Like I said, though, it's a tool. There are other things you can do. You don't necessarily need this, but it's a fantastic tool to address all the things I mentioned, and that is the iron neck. So I've had an iron neck for several years now, and they were so generous to send me their newest model. So it's the 3.0 and it's the Pro. And the Pro has some different features on it, some things you can't do, or that you can't do with the regular one. And I'm going to unbox it right now, and I'm going to go through some of the different features which make this one pretty unique. And this isn't like a shameless plug. It's just to kind of show you why this tool is so versatile in terms of the aspects or things that I'm looking for in terms of rehab and strength and conditioning that you can implement within this tool. So without further ado, here's the iron neck. I'm going to unbox this together. So I got my handy dandy sharp CVV knives. This thing is sick. It's green. Go figure. You get to hear this thing. Oh, baby. Crack this baby open. Ooh, fancy packaging. This is nice. It got 2 little holes to pull this son of a bitch out. Oh, damn. This thing is nice. Even just the packaging is nice on this thing. Where are we going with this? Oh, wow. Little carrying case. Sick. No extra tape. Oh my goodness. Wow. That is beautiful. I'm going to take a picture of that. So I'm going to show you how this whole thing works. Oh, damn. I got hooked up with all the stuff. All right. So basically what we're looking at here is this apparatus, and there's a couple different devices in here that I'm going to pull out so you have some reference. Oh, damn. They give me a lot with this Pro. So basically what we're looking for here is we have this apparatus here, and I should probably put this away in case YouTube decides to flag me. Sweet knife, by the way. So this is supposed to rest on your head. You're going to look like an absolute psychopath when you wear it, but it's fine. And I can already tell just by some of the pivot points on here, they've already made some massive upgrades in terms of the design work. Now, what makes this kind of cool is there's different foam pads that are in here and different inserts depending on how large or how small your noggin is. This strap here is what goes over the head. Then this piece is the chin strap. Go figure. So I'm going to try to adjust this a little bit so you can kind of see how silly it is on another human being. Front and the back. Yeah. So it's going to go on mostly like this. Now, what makes this form fitted is there's this little button here. And when you press it, it's like if you lived in the 90s, it's like pump-up sneakers. So you press that, and this foam pad in the back contours to your head. So this is very similar to what I have already. And then this button here is a pressure valve, so it lets it off. So head goes in here,
goes on top, fits pretty nice, puts it on the forehead. You use this little bump. Once it gets nice and snug, it's not particularly comfortable, and then you have that, and then you have the pressure valve. So if I press this, air comes out, and you can adjust it as you need to. But this fills everything up. It doesn't rotate on your head. It's very nice. Now, this little piece here is really important because it determines whether or not this thing moves or not. So this can either be stay fixed, or you can practice rotational things, and it goes all the way around like a gyro. So within here, and what I have set up in my gym also, is a nice little, this is a 25-pound one, which is probably a little too much for most people, but it's progressive resistance and allows you to rotate as you need. So you just clip this on. I'm doing this for my forehead, and then you clip this onto something straight. So then you have this resistance, and it allows you to practice point of instantaneous center of rotation, which is basically just your ability to rotate. And you can do various different things with it, but this is basically the setup. This is pretty damn nice. So they made some cool adjustments with it. Let's do the air out. Oh, so much better. So what makes this tool so unique in comparison to, say, just using like a resistance band is the resistance band doesn't have the same kind of like consistent input and stress through the whole head. So I can do exercises where I'm actually moving my head and this thing will gyrate around, or I can also do it where I stay fixed and work on isometric strength as the rest of my body moves or I rotate. So there's a lot of different ways, a lot of different varieties and ways you can strengthen the neck, multiple different planes, doing various things from push-up position, anything that would replicate grappling. So this is why this tool is it's so nice and it's very versatile. And your only limitations is your creativity. I know people who have used it for golf. Anytime they have issues with your neck, if you can isolate or snapshot that one particular movement that hurts, you can recreate that scenario and create exercises around it, both isometrically or isokinetically. So one thing I also wanted to implement here or talk about is, if I'm not mistaken, this thing has resistance too. So not only do I have resistance from the band here, but this is a new feature, the click on this is so much nicer. So I can make this fully loose where it just basically freely spins around, or if I want to just strictly do isometrics, I don't want any movement here, I can tighten this all the way up, and now this shit doesn't move at all. No rotation. Very hard to rotate with your head. Or somewhere in the middle. So you can kind of go like, oh, I want lighter to medium resistance where there's some friction, but it's not just freely moving. So I can add my resistance both through the band and through the gyro. So this thing's pretty sick. Now it looks like it comes with some other features that are pretty nice. Some other resistance bands, there's a little head cap. So if you're sweating a bunch, you're not going to dirty up the pads. There's multiple sizes of pads that you can adjust in there, like I said, depending on how big or how small your noggin is. But that thing is sweet. If you've ever been in the market or you have the funds squirreled away to grab one, it's a great tool, especially for jiu-jitsu. It's something that you can definitely implement, 1 or 2 times a week. You can implement it every single day as part of your warm-up, doing some of your range of motion drills. You can do it with the iron neck, and it's just overall a great tool. I usually don't promote products unless it is something that I use myself, and this is something that I've been using for several years. I think the last time I did an iron neck video was 4 years ago. Bought it 100% myself. This is just the updated version. They made some really nice adjustments to it, made it far nicer, better materials, a lot more sturdy. But yeah, if you've ever been in the market or questioning it, you might have seen it on other podcasts or other people talk about it. It's a great tool. But if you have any more questions about it, I don't have a code or anything. This is just me talking about it because I genuinely think it's a great product. Hit me up.
I'd love to talk to you about it some more. But think about things from a neck perspective. If you're ever, if you've been having issues with your neck, it can be really scary, especially as symptoms kind of start traveling down the arms, towards the hands, more severe injuries. You can have, issues with your grip. You can have changes in sensation with numbness or tingling, shooting pain, all those things. So if you're somebody who's been dealing with neck pain for a while and maybe you haven't gotten the results that you want, maybe you've done PT, maybe you've seen various neurologists, orthopedists, love to be able to help you out, hear your story, and see if there's something I can do for you. Whether it's implementing the iron neck or just some really basic fundamentals of ways to get you stronger and more resilient on the mats, because that's what we're here for. But love to be able to help you out. Please feel free to, you can contact me in the show notes. You can always set up a call with me so we can discuss any of your injuries. But until then, see you on the next episode. Remember, pain is not something you should fear, just something you should respect. This is the way. See you.